Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Celi's Hangout. I'm your host, Franceli Chapman. I'm so excited to be here with you guys on another Monday night. Episode 28. It feels good as I'm approaching 30, literally in real life and on the show. It's a good number to be. I like to. I heard dirty 30s are pretty cool. So shout out to all my dirty 30 folks out there. If you're hanging out with us, you want to join the conversation, be sure to, hit us up on the Instagram and the Twitter and Facebook and all of that. You can tweet us at CeliHangout if you want to ask questions and join the conversation that we're having tonight. So it's going to be a great show. And before I introduce our wonderful guests and talk about the healthy living that we're doing this episode, I want to give you guys a quick Celi update, what's been going on in my life, getting ready to move to Los Angeles. You guys already know that. I'm packing my bags and flying out on Saturday, so it's been like a hectic week of trying to pack up everything, and with time off, actually going to support some colleagues. Like I said, I talk about it on the show all the time, the importance of building relationships, planting seeds, and when you have some time, really going out to support your colleagues. So I got to go see some great shows. I went to support Keith Joseph Atkins, who is a fellow Celi Hangout guest, and the National Black Theater, and they put on tonight's actually the last night to go see Facing Our Truth, which is 10-minute short plays about Trayvon Martin, and it was an incredible show. I'm so happy that they brought me on as their guest, and I was able to be there for opening night and support them, and I'll be writing an article for Soul Essence for that. So I'm really excited I got to do that, and I also got to, first time for everything, go to Long Island and see a play out in Long Island. I went to see Other Desert Cities, which was on Broadway, as some folks may know, but a colleague of mine is starring in that, and she did a fantastic job. So it's just been an amazing week of going to support and see good theater before I head out to Hollywood. So I want to give a special shout outs to my friends over in LA. Orange is the New Black Beyond fan page. We have this funny little Orange Gladiator podcast that we do. I'll tell you guys about that when I get to LA. And I shot a short film. So all of that in 1 week. It's been crazy. So enough about me. That's the Celi update. I want to introduce you to wonderful Ayinde Howell.
Yeah. Hello.
He is here with us tonight, and I'm going to just, if you are not reading my emails and have just been under a rock and don't know why I have this wonderful man on my show, Ayinde Howell is an executive chef and founder of I Eat Grass. It's a healthy eating and lifestyle blog. Ayinde also helms a gourmet vegan catering and events company of the same name. And currently, Ayinde is on the road with singer-songwriter India Irie as her personal chef during the duration of her Song Recitation promotional tour. So Howell also serves as the vice president of Hillside Quickie Stores. It's a 35-year-old family business, which I need to hear all about this, Ayinde. I want to know how this happened, what's going on. That's a long time. His parents actually founded the business in Tacoma, Washington. So looks like the vegan lifestyle has been in you since birth. We'll talk about that.
Yes.
And besides being a vegan enthusiast, he's an award-winning actor. He's appeared on BET, 106 in Park. I mean, the man just has many hats. So I'm so excited and thrilled to have Ayinde on the show. How are you, man? How's it going on the West Coast, the left coast?
Well, the sun is shining. It's probably like 75 degrees outside, so it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Many of your East Coast viewers probably have seen me around. The New York theater scene and the acting scene. I was out there for about 8 years. I'm originally from Seattle, Tacoma, of course, but yeah, I was in New York for a long time, and I was just like, man, it was one of those winters when it was just like blizzard, then it would thaw, then it was another blizzard, then it would thaw, then it was another blizzard, and I was like, I can't take it. Got to get out of here. So I moved to California, and so far it's been good. I mean, I've been here just over a year, and it's been good. It's nice. It's like the weather's good. I miss rain. I do miss a little rain every now and then. But other than that, I think it's pretty dope.
Yeah, I can't wait to leave the snow. It was snowing last night. out in Brooklyn. I don't venture out to Brooklyn much, but I was there for the Brooklyn Nets game, and the snow was coming
Oh wow.
down. I said, "Sunny California, here I come." Um, so talk to me a little bit about this journey. As we all know, like vegans, vegetarians, there's a misconception and a confusion between the two. I know I was pretty confused, but as an artist who's had so many friends make the transition, it's like a new trend. All of
Mhm.
my friends are going vegan. Um,
Mhm.
so can you talk to us a little bit about what's the biggest difference between someone who's a vegetarian and a vegan, and why do you think there's such a big shift and so many artists going vegan?
Well, I think so. Vegetarian versus vegan. Like vegan means no animal products at all. So no milk, no eggs, no, no turkey burgers, no chicken. you know. So the people are like, oh, you can just have some fish, right? Like, no, it's actually no meat at all. And it's, I guess it'll be a little bit easier for me. I grew up that way, but but seeing going from like zero to where I am today, being vegan all my life, now I see a lot more of it being sort of mainstream and normal, quote unquote. And I think partly because like you were just saying, like the dirty 30s, like people have gotten to, like a lot of my old classmates from high school come to me now like, yo, I gotta need some of them vegan recipes. I gotta lose this weight, I gotta get my cholesterol down or whatever. I mean, we grew up in a processed food rich environment. It was fast food, it was taken home, put it in the microwave, et cetera, et cetera. And like now pretty much everyone's saying that that's not good for you. Like processed food is just not good for you. And so turning the corner and trying to get back yourself like back on track and back in good health. I mean, I think our generation as well, we sort of get caught up in the whole the fantasy life of like being rich or being a baller or being a this or being a that. But even those people are beginning to see that, oh wait, I got to enjoy this life. So being able to enjoy this life means I need to be healthy. I need to be able to walk around and show off my good health, or be here for my kids, or enjoy all this money that I hustled to get, whatever the case may be. And I think that it just the celebrity aspect makes it a little bit more accessible for people, because it's like, oh, well, my favorite, like when Jay-Z and Beyonce went vegan for like 21 days, it was like, oh, wow, everybody, oh, I'm gonna try this vegan thing because they tried it. And I wasn't under any illusions that like, or delusions that like they would automatically become vegan, because I know that it's a transition, right? I mean, food means a lot more to people than just like the idea of what you're supposed to be eating. Like it still has to taste good, it still has to satisfy you, it still has to like make you feel good like your mom made it, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I think there's a lot of folks in the vegan community, chefs and just sort of people who just sort of ran up on the movement or the lifestyle, that can't cook, or are proponents of bad vegan food, which I do not like. If you're gonna make vegan food and sell it, at least take the time to make it good for people. But I think that it's just, if you look at, like, I look at my Instagram feed and I see a lot of people, even if they're not vegan, everybody's getting more into working out, trying to do these 30-day challenges, trying to really be more healthy. And I think it's just sort of become part of the national conversation where, like, it doesn't make sense to not be healthy. Like, it no longer makes sense to keep giving yourself bad food and things that aren't good for you. I mean, if you haven't seen all the food documentaries, you've heard of it. If you haven't, you've heard of the pink slime that makes chicken nuggets or whatever. Like you've seen, it's come across your Facebook feed or something. So you're aware of it, and then it just becomes a thing of like, how do you incorporate it into your life? And that's one of the things that I try to do, because I mean, I'm a young brother. I consider myself relatively normal, other than the fact that I don't eat meat. People, and people are usually surprised, especially within my industry, because I mean, most people within the vegan industry are thin white women, and they see me come along and they're like, "Oh, who's this guy?" And I'm like, "I've been here all along," And so it's something that I think, like I did I was featured in Essence magazine like last 2 Septembers ago, and I did a whole like Cajun vegan spread, and it was just like I still like see like sisters today, or like, yo, I got your magazine at home, I made that jambalaya, that was really amazing, not to have any meat in it. And that's the thing that I really strive for, is like to create food that people don't miss meat, and and it's healthy for them, and it's also familiar. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, you made an incredible point about the fact that it's a shift of lifestyle and it's a big change. Food is really important, not just in terms of we got to eat to survive, but in terms of like these cravings are real. Like I love my Oreo cookies. I I love chicken, you know, and like you said, growing up from particular cultures, you know,
Yeah.
as a Afro-Latina woman, you know, that pernil, that pork every Christmas is a big deal, you know, and
Right.
it's when you make the shift, it doesn't only just change your life, but then your family around you having to
Yes.
adjust and
Yes.
accommodate. You know, I
Yes.
have an aunt who's not a vegan, but she is vegetarian, and we
Mhm.
do have to make separate plates just for her, because
Mhm.
she's the only one in the family who doesn't eat meat. So those are the kinds of things that, you know, you kind of got to get not only yourself on board, but everyone else around you to become supportive of that change. So how do you, like, what advice would you give folks who want to make the shift? I know I have some viewers that are really excited for this show because they're like,
Mhm.
man, they're thinking about it. They're on the fence of making some lifestyle changes of their diet, but there's all these conceptions of it's going to be really hard. It's going to
Mhm.
be really expensive. How am I really going to afford this life? So what are
Mhm.
some tips you can give folks about wanting to make that change?
Well, yeah, I think it's not as expensive as one may think. You know, per pound, the cost of meat is more than vegan proteins. So, you know, your tofu, your tempeh, your seitan, these are all like plant-based proteins that you can use to replace meat in your diet, and they do cost less than meat. Again, like when you start, and you can sort of gradually move your way into it, right? So what I tell people when they're starting is like, let's start with taking out as much processed food as possible. Like if the ingredients on something that is, say, a cookie is 2 paragraphs long, then maybe you shouldn't eat that. You know, try to eliminate the chemicals, the processed, all the and the artificial flavors and colors and things that's in a lot of food. So you can start with that. And then, you know, I say just chart how you feel. You know, if you start to feel better, because I approach veganism from a human standpoint. You know, there's a lot of people out there who are like PETA or like, you know, animal rights activists, and that's fine. And I think that, you know, that there's a space for that. But I think that what really hits people at their core is how is it going to make you feel? If it makes you feel better, if it's going to make, you know, your mom feel better who may have had to, you know, had to stop eating meat because of a heart condition, which I've actually worked with people, you know, like that. You know, it's about the human element. And so I think if you can sort of track the human element of changing your diet, because you really are what you eat, right? As far as the social aspect of it, you definitely have to be armed with information, you know, and I think the family is always the last to come around, you know, especially like I remember when I used to go visit my grandmother in Baltimore, and she would say, you know, I was there one Easter, and she had you know, the whole spread had ham and, you know, greens and candied yams and all this stuff. And so she was like, well, you can just have the candied yams. And it was like, well, you cooked them in butter and they have marshmallows and all sorts of like, you know, dairy products and stuff in that. And she, you know, and then, you know, you don't want to be afraid to offend them, and then they get offended, and then like, oh, well, you don't like my cooking, and it gets a little crazy, especially with, you know, older folks, and especially with people of color, because as you said earlier, like cultural food is very cultural, right? It's very tied into, you know, who made it, how it was made, you know, so on and so forth. And
And it's hard to
you
give
know,
that up
stepping out
sometimes.
of it is. It is. It's very hard to give it up. And so, like, if somebody said, "Andy, you gotta stop eating tofu," I'd be like, hold on, boss. Hold on, I can't do that." You know. But if you step out, you know, you just have to know that you're doing it for yourself, and you may have to, you know, depending on how you feel, you may make some compromises here and there. But ultimately, you know, if you're doing it for the betterment of yourself, you know, sometimes you will have to just stand alone on that. You know, if people will eventually come around. You know, if they start to see you, you know, in better health, maybe you know, you're the person in the family who doesn't get, you know, diabetes or whatever the case may be. Like, I mean, there are so many things that sort of plague the Black and brown communities that are diet based that, you know, the people of younger generations are starting to see and move away from. And if you can, move away from those systemic diseases that come from certain types of foods, then ultimately you're doing better for yourself and your family.
Right, because you'll be able to be here a while longer.
Exactly.
I have some folks watching. Again, if you're just joining us and you're here part of the conversation with Ayinde and I about healthy living and vegan lifestyle, tweet us at CeliHangout or just hit us up here on the Google Plus page. We have a Teresa Middleton who's hanging with us, and she asked, what about baked chicken and baked fish? I know some of us can't do the vegan all the way. I even went to my doctor to get a physical, and she was talking to me about, for some of us, there's certain proteins and products that we actually need. So vegan might not always be the best option. I think it's always good to speak to your doctor and let them know what kind of, and go to a nutritionist and all that stuff. Like really, like you said, doing your research is very, very important. So for some of us who don't want to take the deep plunge and want to just do things a little different, like baked chicken and baked fish, what do you say about that?
What I say about that is if you want to start, you have to find a starting point, right? So if you start with taking fried foods out of your diet and red meat out of your diet, that's a big start for a lot of people. If you So for instance, you start to pare it down, then you take out, say, whatever oil that you're using, and you only use something like grapeseed oil or safflower oil or something that is, that's not GMO, that is not a genetically modified organism, or something that is not, again, overly processed, right? And try to use less sodium. If you're going to use salt, try to use sea salt, because again, it's really about the amount of chemicals that you're taking in, and you also have to think about the type of chemicals that are in the meat proteins that you're taking in. Where are you getting your meat from? A lot of times people want to buy the cheapest thing possible, and in any factor, in any situation, you should always care more about what's going in your body than say what's going on your body. So for people who have to find a place to start, I would say still go through your cabinets, pull out things that are overly processed. If you want to go from frying to baking to broiling, go less salt. Incorporate more herbs and herbs for flavoring as opposed to just salt and pepper. So a lot of times people miss there's a taste that frying something gives off. So if you want to introduce yourself to the herb kingdom and find some herbs that might work, maybe some marjoram or some rosemary or something like that, to give yourself some new taste. And then I would say, look, if you have baked fish and chicken 6 days a week, 1 day a week, have baked tempeh. Try something. Try to work it into your diet. 1 day at a time, or one meal at a time. I feel like the most accessible meal for a person for an omnivore, a person who's not vegan, to try vegan food is lunchtime. It's sort of like the throwaway meal. It's like, oh, I'm at work, I'm gonna go get lunch. So go get a vegan lunch and just see how it makes you feel. Or go get some falafel. In New York, man, I used to go to Miles Veg all the time. And,
I love that place.
Right? They have some great falafel over there. But it's really like, so if you start to pare down what you're already doing to something that's a more healthy profile, and then start to incorporate once, twice a week a vegan meal and see how you like it, and then you sort of start the process of investigating, oh, well, maybe I like this texture, or maybe I don't like this texture. And a lot of times with something like tempeh, which is a fermented soybean product, which is easy on the digestive tract and has equal protein to fish, you can use the same marinade. So if you're using a certain marinade for fish, try it on tempeh 1 week. Take out, if you're using anything that's sort of like white rice. White rice doesn't have any nutritional content, so it basically turns into sugar in your bloodstream. So take out your white rice, put in some brown rice, or try some quinoa or something like that. So there's a lot of different elements of your plate of what you're eating that you can sort of swap out and start the process of getting healthier. And then keep doing the research and keep finding out how you can, find a balance for it.
Yeah. I mean, and as you know, Celi's Hangout, most of us folks here are artists, but there's some folks who aren't artists that watch the show. I love that. But
Mm-hmm.
to keep it for the inspired artists, how would
Mm-hmm.
you say, I mean, there's so many famous folks that are vegan,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Ellen, Portia, Andre
Mm-hmm.
3000, Erica Badu. You're working with India Irie.
Yeah.
How do you think that that affects you as an actor? Let's talk about you. You know,
Uh-huh.
you've made a huge shift from New York to LA. That's a
Uh-huh.
whole other kind of grind, monster,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of
Well,
like being on set for 16 hours. What do you
mhm.
think changing your life to this kind of eating, what does it do for you as an artist?
Well, I'll give you two examples. So, for instance, when I started working with India, she was what I call sort of sentenced to veganism. Like her doctor was like, look, you gotta. She did an elimination diet and had to had she couldn't eat anything. But she's an avid foodie, loves flavor, et cetera, et cetera. So, being on the road with her, I was responsible for all of her meals. And so the way I set up her meal plan was okay, she has to have energy to be able to perform for 2 hours on stage every night. She has to, be able to do and in the interviews and the moving around during the day. So and she can't fluctuate in size. Have to keep her at a certain weight. So I was incorporating different juices and different and food pairing techniques and these are sort of the secrets that the celebrities use to keep themselves thin. So, for instance, you're not supposed to eat protein and carbohydrates together. That's sort of a classic American thing, like a burger, for instance. Like you have the bun, you have the meat, boom, that's a protein and carbohydrate. You're supposed to actually eat carbohydrates with vegetables or proteins with vegetables, but you don't mix the two. When you mix the two, it causes bad digestion, which causes you to retain the food, which causes you to get fat, right? So what I learned from that was how to feed the artist body. In her example, she was a musician, so you use you have to use your creative brain a lot. You have to use your physical instrument a lot when you're performing. Couple that with the stress of being on the road and it's what I found that the vegan diet and the feedback I got from her was, she felt lighter. She felt like she was able to really, get everything that she needed to do done and not, after a meal have to take like, a 2 hour break to just digest food. Um, out here, when you come out here, you're going to see like, there's a juice bar on every corner. People are jogging all the time, and people are,
Healthy living.
gluten-free this,
Everyone
and
wants to be fit.
everybody wants to be fit, but as well, if you're on set, for instance, like Ryan Seacrest, he often tweets, his 6 pack of juices that he carries around, because you can get a complete meal in a juice form. You get more nutrients, you get more energy, more power from raw foods. The second notch down is going to be vegan food than you get from an In-N-Out burger. So if you're trying to keep yourself up and keep yourself focused and get ready for your next scene and so on and so forth, there's all sorts of things that you can use, like you get into superfoods like chia seeds and goji berries and all that sort of stuff. And it sounds a little bit foreign, but the idea is to feed your body the best fuel possible, right? And because that's what you want to perform at your highest level. You're trying to impress people in that room, et cetera, et cetera. The best way to do that is with your body is light. You feel like you can move. You don't feel weighted down from breakfast or lunch or whatever the case may be. And so I feel and I'm about to actually start working with an actor out here. He's he does a lot of commercial work, and he's like, I need to lose some weight, and I just need to feel better. I just want to feel better. And it's surprising how many people don't make the link between what you eat and how you feel. And it's right there. That's exactly what it is. What you eat equals how you feel.
That
And
is
if you're,
No,
what is
I was
that?
just gonna say that is so true. I mean, my mom literally right before we started the show, she made herself a smoothie, and she
Mm-hmm.
talks about, oh my God, Franceli, I feel so light. I feel so good that I'm eating
Yeah.
right now, and it
Mm-hmm.
feels really good because my mom didn't decide to make the shift until she started seeing me like making kale omelets in the morning, and I
Mm-hmm.
talked to her about trying green smoothies because she was having digestive problems and
Right.
not being able to use the
Yeah.
restroom. And what people don't
Yeah.
understand is using the bathroom is so, so important in order to get
Yes.
all the waste out. And I
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
acne problems as an adult, which was really,
Mm-hmm.
really traumatic for me. Like, oh, as an artist, we want to
Mm-hmm.
be on stage and on camera and all that stuff on my face. And I tried everything. And when I
Mm-hmm.
started implementing kale into my diet, my face cleared up, my body felt better. My mom was starting to use the
Mm-hmm.
restroom on a regular basis. And so she started incorporating that healthy lifestyle because she saw how it was changing me. So your
Exactly.
family, like we said at the beginning, may not be on board at first, but it starts with you. And when they see the
Mm-hmm.
positive change that it does for you, folks are going to
Mm-hmm.
want to feel the way you feel. I mean, you look great, you're happy, your energy is on a whole other level. They see
Yeah.
that and they're like, man, I want that green juice you're drinking.
Right, right. They want to hop on your train, and that's sort of the basis for, everything when it comes to changing human behavior. People will turn their nose up at it and be like, "Oh, wait, that's working for you. I want to look like that. Yeah, I want to get on that." And then they all of a sudden they're right there next to you. But that's great, and even something like, to my point, just incorporating, fresh green leafy greens like that is huge. Can make a huge difference in your overall way you feel, your appearance, et cetera, et cetera. And it's really just like opening your eyes and your palate to like experiencing new things and being able to experience new things. You know what I mean?
Definitely. So I want to touch upon, a lot of us are making this switch now, but you have two amazing parents
Mm-hmm.
who have been doing this for 35 years. So what
Mm-hmm.
was it like growing up, in a vegan household? Is that kind of, did you always want to be a chef because your parents had this store? Kind of like, how did that journey happen for you?
Well, in the household was fine. In the neighborhood, I was the weird kid. Me and my sisters were like the weird kids. Because it was like, oh, you don't eat anything. What do you eat? Grass? Ha 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 ha. So it was that's obviously where the name of the website came from. But it was hard. The social aspect is the hardest part of it. And I grew up. I would just love to eat. And I think I have more of an entrepreneur mind than I have a chef mind. But I have a talent when it comes to cooking. It's just something that and it's funny because I was the youngest, so I never really cooked. I have two older sisters, so they cooked all the time, and everybody cooked. And I was like, oh, cool, it's great. I just eat everything. And then I started, and then I started cooking professionally when I was like 20 years old, and then I didn't discover that I was like an artist, a performing artist, until I was like 23. So cooking has been sort of the cornerstone of what that was like my first um, iteration of my creativity was like in cooking. And as the creative energy sort of can bounce around between different things. But yeah, my parents were on some next level stuff. Back in the they actually moved to California. Or my mother moved to California. She was originally from Baltimore and lived in New York. And then met my father, and he was like, "Yeah, come out to California." So she came out here, and it was just sort of the peak of that, the end of the civil rights movement into that, and sort of in California, it mixed with that sort of hippie movement, new age kind of movement, and so they were sort of on the very early train of vegetarianism out here, and it became something that they would just start it the same way. I mean, they used to. I mean, my dad's from Alabama. He used to eat possums. Like they
Awesome.
that's what they used to eat. Yes, he's from St. Stephen's, Alabama, and
Wow.
he was like, we used to get a possum, yeah, whatever. I mean, but they used to eat whatever. And he and he then evolved, and he got to the point where he was like, oh, I want to, they kept trying stuff and kept trying stuff, and really where the basis of my cooking comes from is that my father being from Alabama, his father was known for his fried chicken and his barbecue, and then my mother being from Baltimore, and most of my grandparents on that side, they were caterers, and so they were very food heavy families. And then once they became vegan, they were just determined to recreate as many of those old flavors and textures and, familiar things that they grew up with for us. And, consequently, that's sort of, where I developed my palate from. So, yeah, I mean, they were, and it's funny growing up, there were definitely times when I was like, man, like, why do we have to be the weird people? Like, why is it so, why do we have to, why can we go out and eat, blah, blah, blah. But they were apparently very visionary because, the time that, I'm an adult and, working in my professional life that, it's the end thing to do. People
Right.
are like,
Now it's the cool thing. If you were a kid, you would be a cool kid now.
Right, exactly. So now I get to be, I guess, the cool adult. I don't know, but no, yeah, it was an interesting journey. And actually, last year, I'm not sure if you saw this floating around, but last year I actually wrote a one-man show about this. It's called My Meatless Life, and I'm putting it up again this year, and it just sort of covers the whole spectrum of the funny, the traumatic, the being in high school, dating, all that sort of stuff. So it is interesting, and it was something that was very much ahead of its time. But yeah, that's.
I love that title, My Meatless Life.
Yes.
So will I be able to check it out?
Finally got some applause. Yes.
Are you gonna put that up in LA?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it up in LA. Yeah, I'm actually it's a later project for now because I'm putting it through a writing program just to make sure that it's like everything that I want out of it. Putting out a writing program at a theater out here, 6-week program, and then once I'm done with that and the rewrites and stuff, looking at putting it up probably like midsummer, something like that.
Well, that's
yeah. So you'll definitely be here.
Yeah. Well, I'll be there, so I'll come check it out and hang out at the Meatless Life theater show.
Yes. And I serve food there too, so you'll be happy to know.
So we get to eat and be entertained. I love it.
Yes.
I did see something about that. For those who, I tend to tell little stories about how I've met my guests who I've known before they became guests on my show. It's so funny and so much fun because the community that we created in New York with directing actors Jim and Miles and casting actors of color with Jamil, we just were all able to build, and I met Ayinde there, and I remember I did see that on Facebook because I was like, man, food and a show? So yes, I'm super proud of you, super excited for you, for everything that you're doing. So
Thank you.
I think in my mind, this is just my opinion, you've taken your parents' legacy and you're taking it to the next level. Ayinde is like trying to have his first ever vegan Mac truck in LA.
Yes.
Please tell everyone what that's about. You're doing a Kickstarter fundraiser, right? I want all you guys who are watching to support Ayinde. If you can make a contribution, even if it's $1, $1 goes a really long way. So tell folks about it.
Give $1 and tell 10 people to give $1. We'll get there. So it all works together, right? So the food truck, so this it's based on this whole family recipe called mac and yeast. It's one of my great grandmother Mary Fluker from Alabama, from St. Stephen's, Alabama, used to make this baked mac and cheese for the family, and my dad always talked about it, and it was something he wanted to recreate.
We love some baked mac and cheese. Hello.
Right. It was the best kind, right? That stovetop stuff is for the birds. My dad tried it out in the house, a couple times growing up, but then when I opened my first cafe, I got a hold of the recipe, and I just sort of worked on it and tweaked it to how I liked it, and it became like one of the best sellers. And when I was in New York, I used to do pop-up restaurants and stuff, and everywhere I've done it or sold mac and cheese, people were like, "Oh my God, this is so amazing!" And it's a comfort food. It's something that's familiar and it's attainable for people. So I'm basing the menu on the truck around 3 different variations of flavors of this mac and cheese. It's all going to be gluten-free because I'm in LA. Got to be gluten-free. Ideally, it's like I want to. For instance, like, so the one-man show, like we serve food in there. So, I parked the truck outside, we had a show, you come inside with the food, it's like it all works together. It all comes together. But I've been fundraising for the past 20-some days. And we are just over 20% funded, so we really need your help. Put in I have some really awesome rewards for people in California and out of California. You get a T-shirt. When you come to California, you come get a free order at the truck. But this is, again, like you were saying, it's sort of taking the family legacy to the next level. And, this is a new market for me. I haven't, worked in LA as a chef yet. I haven't really been out there like I was in New York, and so this is my goal for this year, to get this done. And again, like I said, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so I always prefer to work for myself if possible. But the Mac truck is, I'll have like a daily soup, I have like a daily sandwich special, and I have like a drink menu, smoothie menu as well. And I waited for, I've been here for a year, and I wanted to sort of get a feel for the lay of the land, and I feel like this is the best concept that'll work on the road here, and I'm excited about it, and I do hope that I've been talking to you out there, that you pledge, you know what I mean? So hit the link. The link's in is right down there.
Yeah, and I just tweeted it. So if you follow us at CeliHangout, I tweeted the direct link to the Kickstarter campaign. Please support Ayinde to get the vegan mac and cheese truck out on the streets of LA.
We just got a pledge.
Yay!
Yeah, we got a pledge. Yeah, come on, keep them coming.
I love it. So, Ayinde, you're looking to raise $35,000, correct?
Yes, correct.
So it's a goal. It's one of those goals, but as artists, there are films that need to raise $50,000, $1 million. So I think 35,000 is attainable, and I'm sure I'm going to be tweeting my butt off to make sure I help support you and support your movement, because I think it's awesome. Mac and cheese is actually one of my favorite dishes on the planet, and coming from a Latino home, I grew up on Kraft and Velveeta. My mom never cooked baked mac and cheese, and it wasn't until college, I was a late bloomer. I went to an HBCU. Shout out to Norfolk State, my Spartans. So they would have a Soul Food Thursdays every Thursday in the CAF, which was a gift and a curse. Most of my acne was during my time in college. I mean, the stress, but also the food, the change of food for me. I went from eating Spanish food to eating fried chicken, collard greens, and baked mac and cheese every Thursday. Yeah. So I'm really excited that you're giving a healthy alternative. Like I said, I'm at the beginning stages of making that shift myself. But dairy is one of the hardest things to give up. I love pizza. I love my cheese. Mac and cheese, those are some of the things that are the hardest things to give up. But pork and red meat, those have been a little easier to wean away from, although I cheat sometimes. My best friend loves to call me out because I tell people, I don't eat pork. And she's like, girl, you went to Dominican Republic and had some longaniza. So I was like, okay. So I was on vacation.
So 99% of the time, I don't eat pork.
Right. So tell me a little bit about how did you come to the decision to do something so big like this? This is so innovative. I mean, there's food trucks all over the place, but a mac and cheese and kind of like, when did this idea pop up for you? And even on your Kickstarter, you have some great people behind you. I saw Janelle Monáe did a video supporting your Kickstarter. So how did you come up with the idea, and how did you get these people to support this movement?
I came up with the idea. I was really trying to figure out, like last year, I was really trying to figure out, like, okay, what am I going to do here in LA? What is it going to be? Is it going to be a cafe? Is it going to be a grocery store? What is it going to be? And I was and also really trying to distill down, like, what are my best recipes? And I came to the idea of a food truck, and I said, okay. And then I was trying to figure out how I could do everything I do on a food truck. And actually, I get a lot of business advice from my mom, so I called my mom up, and I was like, what do you think of this? And she was like, I think you should do like maybe 2 or 3 items. Maybe not like a full menu. Just try to do 2 or 3 items. And I was like, that'll never work. But then I thought about it some more, and I was like, duh, I could just do what everybody loves that I make. And it's funny, like with Janelle, she was out for the Grammys last year, and I did this thing, we call it like a midnight brunch. And so I did this brunch for her, and I made the mac and cheese at the brunch because every time it's like my show, it's like my party piece too. Like if I want to impress somebody, I take the mac and cheese and be like, I made some food, you know. So I made some mac and cheese. I took it there, and she was like, "Yo, what is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know, it's the secret recipe." And so she was out here playing a show, and I went to see her, and I took her some mac and cheese like I always do. And then she was like, "Yeah, I'm definitely down to support, you know, and whatever I can do, you know, to make sure you can always have some mac and cheese around." You know, which has been great. And a few folks from the vegan community as well. My homegirl Whitney from Eco Vegan Gal, like a big vegan blog, you know, got behind it and supported it. And I mean, I've been in the industry for a long time, and so people know that I can cook, and like people who don't know, you know, have sort of heard. And you know, my thing is to always just give the best food possible, and to, you know, satisfy the person sitting in front of me who sat down to eat. And I think that carries through, you know, and then that's really like, it doesn't matter who's sitting in front of me. You know, I want you to enjoy the food that, you know, we're going to break bread. So you should enjoy the food. I'm going to enjoy the food. And that's, you know, that's what it's going to be. And I think that people just see that, you know, and the support has been good. It's been really, it was really great when Janelle did that for me. So I was really happy.
Yeah, that was really awesome.
Yeah.
So it always happens every week. I say it every week that Celi's Hangout goes by so fast. So we're almost coming to a close, and I just want to speak to you, someone who's kind of a multitasker, who's juggling many hats. And there's a lot of artists out there, and it's come to that point, I think, in the industry where you have to be able to do a whole bunch of things. You know, you have to be able to write and star in your stuff, and you have to produce and, you know, be behind the scenes. But your double take is quite different. You're a vegan chef and you're an artist. How do you balance those two?
It's crazy because, like I said, I started cooking and then I discovered this art thing. And so the moment I discovered, and I actually started off doing spoken word and performing spoken word and stuff. And then the moment I discovered that, it was like, okay, I'm going to cook, close the shop, go perform, you know. And so I've always sort of split my time. And there's been times, like when I moved to New York, the first like 4 years I was in New York, I was just, you know, it was like 05 on, and I was making, you know, independent films, and I took a break from cooking. I always seem to, I guess, have some sort of karma with cooking vegan food for people, and so I always seem to sort of circle back to it. But the balance has been, well, look, like I don't want to like get a job as a waiter, and like, you know, I don't want to get a survival job as a waiter and like go sling food for somebody. Like I've done that before, like, and I was like, it's killing my spirit. Like I can't do it. If I can do for myself, I want to do for myself. And so to your point, like what I encourage people to do is, and especially artists, like if you have another skill, if you have something else that you're good at and you don't mind doing, do that. I mean, for cooking for me is also a creative outlet. So I still get to, you know, as an artist, like if I'm not performing, if I'm not putting something out, giving out my message, my energy, whatever to the world, like I get crazy. Like I have to do it. Like I literally have to do it. And you know, if I can sort of use some talents that I have to get to where I want to be, I said to myself, you know, why not? Like I was saying earlier, like my ultimate, you know, where I'm at now in my career is like pulling everything together. And so my goal within the next year is to pull all that together into one, you know, project. You know, I can the My Meatless Life will the long-term plan for that is documentary, and you know, to be able to sort of put everything that I do into one space. However I get there, if it's funded, if it's not funded, if I can make sure that I can get it done, then I'm gonna get it done. You know, it's interesting because when I stepped back into the world of being a chef, it was in New York, and I did it. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna be a chef. I'm gonna put myself through acting school. So I put myself through a 2-year program. But it was right at the time when being a chef was so popular, and everybody was like, oh, yeah, you're a black vegan chef. This is so interesting. And I'm like, okay, I guess so. you know, but you know, because it's sort of always been a part of me. Um, but I think it's a really classic example of like, you know, use what you got to get what you want. And that's, you know, I have a few exciting projects coming up that, you know, that I'm wanting and I'm sort of steering to dovetail um, into my on camera, you know, theatric world. And you know, writing definitely helps. I mean, I have always written. Like I said, I started off doing spoken word, so I've always been a writer, and now I'm just really refining that talent so that I can get, you know, I can, you know, it's supposed to just saying, oh, I can write this and rely on myself to perform it. I can write something that stands on its own as a written piece, and I can act in it and stand on its own as a, you know, as a theater piece, and it can stand on its own, you know, kind of wherever. So, because in this day and age, like nobody's, it's very rare, like unless you're coming out of Yale or something like that, it's very rare that you're going to get discovered. You have to make your own way, you know. You know, I go into these meetings and people are like, "Oh, let's look at your YouTube numbers. Let's look at your Twitter numbers. Let's look at your Facebook numbers." And if you don't have the community, if you don't have the strong numbers and the interaction and the support, you know, and you don't have, you know, NYU, Tisch, or Columbia, or Yale, or whatever on your resume, they're gonna be like, "All right, well, call me back when you're famous," you know.
Call me back
And
when you're semi-famous already.
right, you know, so they're, you know, and that's just real. Like people are looking for you to be able to have an audience already, and then that's been my focus, is like build my audience, and then, you know, when I come to them, you know, when you come to them with your own audience, you're stepping in your own power, and you're not like asking, you know, oh, well, can you take a chance on this, that, and the third. Mm-hmm. Nobody's taking chances anymore. They want, you know, it's, the environment has changed. Like you have like your show, like you have access to the world, literally. So if you're not doing something and putting out something that people are already interested in, then the bigger corporations and companies and networks are like, well, why would I invest in that?
Right. And we talked about that last week. Carrie came on the show. We were talking about, you know, her being an SNL finalist, and just that struggle of social media, and that's become a real thing now for artists. And there are a lot of artists out there that are a little skeptical and kind of scared of the social media thing, don't really want to do it. It's too much. I have a Twitter and a fan page and a this and a that. But the reality is, and they said it best, he's in LA, I'll be there soon. You know, it's one of the things that these directors and casting directors are looking at. And the truth of the matter is, the power of Google is so powerful. And when you submit your stuff to an agent, before they even call you, they're Googling you. You know, they're going to see what your social presence is, because if they're Googling you, they know that if your name is on an IMDb page for a movie that's coming out, their viewers are doing the same thing. The audience is doing the same thing. I do it. You know, when I see a new movie come out and there's an actor on it I don't know, that's the first thing I do, hit Google. Who are they? You know, what have they done? What are they about? You know, so we're really in that age, so it's important to create a really good social media presence. And
you have to. There's no like, it's not like it's important. If you want to make it, you have to. Like you know, I'm telling you, like I've sat across from these dudes, you know, and these people in these offices, you know, all of last year. That's all I was doing. They were, you know, and it's like, okay, even you know, like where I'm at my level, like I was like, okay, that's good. You have nice numbers. You're able to interact. You know, call me back when you get some more. You know, or whatever the case may be. And you know, another good example out here is Black and Sexy TV, which is like a YouTube network. And you know, they just grind it out. They do stuff on their own. They got their numbers up. You know, and now it's trying to transform for them. And it's the new independent film. If you can you can put it on YouTube. You can put it on, you know, your Instagram feed, whatever the case may be. You can make a short little movie. That's your new independent film. Like when I got started, I made 2 feature films off the bat, lead roles. That's unheard of now. You know, when I got started acting in 2005. Now, you know, we're almost 10 years later, and it's a completely different game. And if you don't have your YouTube game up and your social media game up, like, what are you saying?
Yeah, what are you bringing to the table? You have to bring something to the table. And I really, really love the gem that you dropped on. So I'm going to say it again about the importance of figuring out a way to, if you're going to make this your life, you know, to be an artist and you're going to be this in the long haul, finding a skill that you actually enjoy and make that your bread and butter, because it does kill your spirit. Some of these survival jobs are just not, they're not conducive to our artists. How do you get on set and how do you perform your best and give your all when your energy has just been sucked dry? And that's why I left the job I was at. I mean, it's an amazing institution. I loved where I worked. It was fantastic to be a part of that. But, selling tickets at a box office and talking to customers all the time, after a while that starts to eat at you. It chips at you slowly. And after 2 years, I knew it was time to make a leap for myself and make something better of me. Because, I didn't want to spend the rest of my life answering phones at a box office.
Yeah.
I believe that I was destined for more than that. So to each its own. You have to know when your time is and when the time is right. And, you've been part of this vegan lifestyle all your life. And, the Mack truck could have happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but everything happened in the time it was supposed to. And you feel this is the right time for you to start this really great, innovative project. And like I said, I'm so excited for you. This is a big move.
Yeah, it is. It is. Thank you.
And you're adding one more thing to your resume. You can't talk too much about it, right? But I heard you're coming out with a cookbook.
I am coming out with a cookbook. It's yes, and my publisher is keeping it under wraps because I'm approaching it from a standpoint that we haven't seen done yet in I mean, there's a million vegan cookbooks coming out from, everybody and their brother who's been a vegan for, 12 months. But this particular subject, we don't think it's been touched on yet. So we're keeping it under wraps until we can get like we have our announcement and we do our pre-sales and stuff. But I am excited. I can share a couple things. It is my first cookbook. We do have distribution through Simon & Schuster, so it will be everywhere. So I'm super excited about that. And so that's pretty much as I can say. But maybe you'll have me on the show again when you're in LA, and I'll tell you when we can announce it.
Of course. Yeah. You're always welcome on the Hangout. We'll definitely have to talk about that. I'm really excited, moving to LA and being on my own. I'm not going to be living at mom's house anymore, so I have to start cooking for myself. So I'll definitely be hitting you up and calling you for some tips on what to cook, how to cook it. Definitely I'm going to need that.
Yeah, it's a whole different world out here. It's a whole different world out here. If you're already on that healthy living tip, it's just going to expand when you get out here because there's so much of everything grows here. Everything grows here. You can get anything all the time. It's crazy.
I'm excited. I'm so guys, if you missed the Hangout or got into the Hangout late, always know that Celi's Hangout, you can watch it, the recorded version, on youtube.com/CeliHangout. So be sure to catch the conversation from the beginning. Ayinde and I have had a wonderful conversation on healthy living, vegan lifestyle, what that all means. And make sure to hit up his Kickstarter. I tweeted it from my page. You can also go on Ayinde page and follow him on Twitter. I've been tweeting all night his Twitter handle, so if you go on his Twitter handle, all his stuff is there too. But help him get his vegan truck out on the streets of LA. It's gonna be awesome. For all you folks who like to travel, if you're not already in LA, when you go to LA, then you can come visit the truck and you can say you made a donation on Celi's Hangout.
Yeah, and you can pick up your free mac and cheese from the donation that you made. We need you out there, so yeah, by all means, please, hit it up. $25 is a great level for you to pledge at, and you get a lot of good stuff for it. So hit the page, throw some money down, and I will dance at your wedding.
So right before we go, please tell folks about what's the website for your blog. Now your blog has tips on vegan lifestyle, it has recipes and all that jazz, right?
Yeah, so IEatgrass.com, IEatgrass.com is where you can find me. You can find that on pretty much all the networks, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and Pinterest. And we're all over the place. But yeah, every Monday we put up a recipe. Tuesday we give out tips. Wednesday is Wellness Wednesday, so it covers the gamut of exercising, feeling healthy, depression, whatever the case may be. I have a community of writers that help me out. They're amazing, and so it's, I consider I Eat Grass like the Huffington Post of the healthy eating world. That's what I wanted to be at some point in life, as far as views wise and stuff. But no, we do it. We work hard on it, and it's a great place to find recipes, especially if you're just getting started, and also find some good tips to keep yourself motivated. So IEatGrass.com, and like I said, you can also follow us on Instagram and see all the cool food porn pictures we put up and stuff like that.
I Eat Grass, folks. Make sure you check it out. I know I Eat Grass is going to be like my second Bible out in LA. Ayinde, I want to thank you so much for hanging out on Celi's Hangout tonight. And being my last show in New York, It's so awesome to have, someone who's a great colleague and reconnect with you, and as I'm making the shift. I remember seeing on Facebook when you just got up and left. It's weird. It's like we don't tell each other that we're making the move, and you just kind of happen to see your colleagues on Facebook. All of a sudden they're now in LA, and you're like, oh, they're gone. So I remember that moment when I saw you on the West Coast. So I'm glad to now be following the trend and see you out there.
Come on out. It is good out here. No, definitely. I just had to. I talked about it to, like, I have an ex-girlfriend who will tell you, oh, you've been talking about moving to LA forever. You ain't moving to LA. Like, no, I'm gonna move. I just gotta get ready. I just gotta get ready. So I finally got ready, and I was like, screw it, I'm just moving. And I just left. So, but yeah, no, it's been a good move, and I think you'll like it too. So hit me up. I'll show you all around, all the cool spots to go to, and what little theater communities out here, and all the parties to go to, and all that good stuff. And avoid all the let's do lunch people. There's a lot of those folks out here.
Let's do lunch.
Yes. Oh God, there's so many of those people out here. Hey, let's do lunch sometime. Oh, I'm busy every day. Anyway, guys,
I mean, Celi's Hangout is not going anywhere. It'll be back next Monday, and I'll be in LA. So next Monday's show, you'll be able to check me out. We'll be able to do. It's a secret surprise what I'm doing next week, because actually, the guest is still shooting a really big project. So I'm on hold to make sure he's not shooting next Monday. So if not, big announcement for who's on the show next week. If not, I'll just do a great vlog on my shift to LA. But definitely at the end of the month, we're doing our Celi Hangout Oscars roundtable panel. Ayinde, you are welcome to join that panel if you like. We're going to be talking about the Oscars, and I'll be live front and direct on the West Coast. So it'll be great to talk about the Oscars from that perspective. So join us here. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It takes a village about Celi's Hangout. And we're doing some great stuff here. I hope you can continue to support. If you have a show idea, want to be on the show, email me at CeliHangout@gmail.com. So we'll see you next week, guys.
Peace.